Today on the Topic Show, theories over Jeremy Boring leaving the Daily Wire are going viral on social media. The Department of Justice to charge Tesla attackers as domestic terrorists. Lamborghinis, they have their best-selling car in 2024 being the SUV Urus. Ben & Jerry's CEO is ousted over activism. Trump has record high approval rating with everyone except liberal college white women. And Ford has a recall, now making 24 recalls in the first 12 weeks of 2025. All of that and much more on The Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show was proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase. And yes, it does come with a fun Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me use the flamethrower. Lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Lamborghini's best-selling vehicle in 2024 being the Urus, which is a little disappointing, but does help give them profits to do other fun things, like make Porsches, because, again, they're all part of the Volkswagen group. Now, this comes to us thanks to Motor1.com, and here you can see one of the modern Lamborghinis, though those only have two pedals, also known as an automatic transmission, so for me, I wouldn't buy one. Well, also couldn't afford one, but nevertheless, if I could, I still get a Porsche, because they respect the consumers and give them the option of a manual transmission, like they should all have. But I partially digress. Now, diving into the article, again, credited to Motor1.com, they say, quote, Lamborghini is making more money than ever before. The Urus remains the best-selling vehicle by model. Although, ironically, they have a cool Lamborghini shown. This is also credited to Anthony over there. And they say, quote, Lamborghini's record sales year raked in record revenues, too. The Italian supercar maker revealed it earned 3.09 billion euros, or in America, $3.4 billion in 2024, breaking the $3 billion mark for the first time. Sales for the brand increased 5.7% last year to 10,687 units, with the majority being the Urus, which is a piece of trash in my opinion, because let's be honest, if you actually just pop off some panels and look, you'll see a lot of Audi parts, because it's mostly an Audi SUV with Lamborghini branding. Though, to their credit, highly profitable, very smart business decision. I was going to say, if you wanted a real Lamborghini SUV, well, they could. Well, they had the LMO years ago with the stick shift and V12. Now, that would be a crazy SUV that would get my attention. Give me a V12 and a stick shift in an SUV. That'd be comically awesome. Shoot, even I would buy that if I had the right resource allocation to afford it. Now, they say, quote, the automaker saw a rise of 16.2% over 2023, while operating income dropped 15.5%. Oh, geez Louise. Over half of Lamborghini vehicles sold were the Uruses. Now, they also note that Huracan accounted for 3,609 sales, and the company also sold 1,406 of the Revolto supercars. They know that also sold 10 Aventadors as ramped up production for the hybrid replacement. Ugh. Yeah, that's just what supercar lovers, they really want, a hybrid. Jeez Louise. Oh, well, when will they learn? Now they say, quote, Lamborghini earned the record revenue as it ramped up the entire lineup with hybrid powertrains. The Italian car maker revealed a V12 powered Revolto in 2023, followed by a hybrid Urus that's now sold out through 2026. Who the hell's buying that? The Huracan replacement is going to be, who the hell bought a twin turbo V8? Really? Don't get me wrong, a V8 made in America, great. A Corvette with a stick shift and V8, that's awesome. A pony car, a Mustang with a V8 and a stick shift, that's awesome. Shoot, the Charger's iconic. The Hemi, the V8's great. I love it. If I had unlimited money, I would maybe even put a V8 into my Honda Civic Si, partially just for the fun. And, I mean, I couldn't help but smile ear to ear even more if I were to do that. But a Lamborghini with a V8. I mean, it was controversial enough years ago, well, decades now. They used to have a V10 for the Gallardo for the entry level, which, shoot, with a stick shift, those are some fun cars, though. They still cost like $125,000. So, need that decimal. Even with all depreciation, it's still not in my my Honda budget. But nevertheless, I mean, that was controversial back then. Now they got a Jeez Louise. I wish these European citizens would grow a pair and stand up to these evil totalitarian governments as partially feeling these companies being neutered and making smaller and smaller engines. But again, it's nice that Lamborghini is making all this money at the overpriced SUV because that profit can be put into other unexciting things like Porsche, because again, Volkswagen Group. And again, it is kind of sad to think that Porsche also makes a lot of their revenue, a lot of their money, profit from the SUVs. They can do other things. Yeah, whether we like it or not, it is one of the fastest growing pretty much vehicle categories in the United States, especially. I mean, people love the crossovers and the SUVs. They're buying them literally left and right. Though, as an enthusiast, again, business-wise, makes sense, 100% agree. As an enthusiast, it's a little disappointing that the sports car company that's known for making these huge V12 engines, I mean, the Lamborghini LP640 still sells for $1 million plus because there's so few with the iconic combo of the stick shift and V12. If they were to just do that again, they would sell it like hotcakes. They would print money at that point, but they won't do it. But it's kind of sad that as an enthusiast brand, and they've gone from, again, making supercars and huge, awesome sports cars to now they're mostly an SUV company. Though again, as the future, as we see more and more trends globally, and especially in the United States, the EV, not the EV adoption, the SUV adoption, not too surprised. But let me know in the comments, are you surprised that Lamborghini sold so many SUVs? Do you think it's the future of the company? Let me know, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, you have Ben & Jerry's CEO ousted for activism, which is kind of weird because, I mean, when I think of Ben & Jerry's, that's the first thing I think of is activism, mostly mentally vacuous, as well as making overpriced crappy ice cream for rich people with too much money. Because again, it is so expensive. I've never bought Ben & Jerry's in my life, even in the rare instances in which I was part of a committed relationship. I drew the line. I've also never bought napkins. I think they're just overpriced paper towels, which are really just overpriced old t-shirts. But let me know. I don't think guys buy Ben & Jerry's, but nevertheless, this comes with thanks to Parthika Prakashi, who's a writer at Fortune, in which she says, quote, Unilever hit new levels of oppressiveness. Ben & Jerry's claims its CEO is sacked over social activism. Here you see when the Ben & Jerry's store is being protested by someone who has never eaten any protein in his life. Where's the bicep dude? I want to say he's for sure a vegan, but come on, do some bicep curls. Dumbbells are so cheap, they're great ROI. Or maybe barbell curls if you feel so inclined. But nevertheless, that's beside the point. I do actually wonder what is this testosterone level of the average man who eats Ben & Jerry's, but again, besides the point. And I say, quote, Ben & Jerry's has filed yet another legal complaint against its parent company, the consumer giant Unilever, which is the most hilarious company because I'll never forget, maybe I'm just bitter from high school. Back in my day, you had this Axe body spray, where in the commercials, if you spray this deodorant body spray onto your body, women, all the ladies, attractive ones, would come around you like they're magnetized towards you. However, when I was at a Walgreens store as a child, I sprayed a little of that Axe body spray on me, and the girl just gave me a funny, weird look and walked away. Very disappointed. That is false advertising. Also hilarious that, again, that's kind of the machismo, men are, more of a male-dominated brand that feminists would say they objectify women. The same parent company also owns Dove, which claims to all women are beautiful, in which they have most of their commercials with morbidly obese women. Though, again, my theory is they want women to eat the Unilever-branded chocolate and Unilever-branded owned ice cream so they get nice and big and fat, and that way they need to buy more soap because they have such preposterous amounts of surface area to cover with the soap. They need to buy more soap, thereby increasing Unilever's total sales. But I partially digress. I always thought it was funny. Hey, Unilever, we're a feminist company. Dove loves women, and then you also have Axe. But I partially digress again. That's just my quite literal little soapbox. Now, they say, quote, in the latest complaint filed in New York federal court, Ben & Jerry's alleges that Unilever had threatened staff opposed to, quote, to silence the social mission, which your mission is to sell ice cream, not socialism and social changes. There's also Ben & Jerry's who cried about, Native Americans lost their land and it's so evil. And then someone goes, wait a minute, Ben & Jerry's, your headquarters is also on former, quote unquote, stolen land. And that tribe is actually still around. Are you going to give that headquarters back? And then Ben & Jerry's shut the hell up for a day or two. Just quite satisfying. Now, they say David Stiver, who had been with Ben & Jerry's for 34 years as a tour guide, chief marketing officer, then CEO, the Vermont-based ice cream brand claimed that Steve was not fired for performance reasons, but because he didn't comply with Unilever's standards for not speaking about political issues, which, again, if you're making a mass product, that's pretty good standard. There are instances where it makes sense to be politically bombastic or give your political opinion. Like if you own Fox or CNN or even the Daily Wire, you're a political commentator, that makes sense. But if you make a product that's supposed to be for the masses, in theory, ice cream, one would think you be a little bit more opaque with your opinions. You would just stick to, making overpriced ice cream for, what do they charge, like $10 per pint these days? American, I don't measure things in pints, but nevertheless, they say that, quote, Unilever then informed the independent board that Steve will be replaced as Ben & Jerry's CEO on March 3rd, 2025. The move hindered CEO's duties purposely and undermined, or they claim that, quote, the move hindered the CEO's duties purposely and undermining Ben & Jerry's social mission and brand integrity. Make ice cream, dude. Ben & Jerry's added that Unilever's had done that. The Unilever spokesperson said the company followed due processes in the removal of Ben & Jerry's CEO. They say that regrettably, despite repeated attempts to engage the board and follow the correct processes, we are disappointed that the confidentiality of an employee career conversation had been made public, a spokesperson said. So it appears, again, in politics usually does not pay off for most folks. Again, in some instances, makes sense. That's your job. But yeah, it looks like that was and again, to Unilever's credit, I think this is the right business decision because, again, in theory, they want to sell a product to the masses. They want to sell it to more than just one side of the political aisle or a subsection, depending on what category they're choosing to talk about. So, and again, I'm surprised. Ben & Jerry's been political for decades. It looks like, again, Unilever's given them, throughout the years, have given pressures to stop doing that. I mean, it looks like they actually are starting to put that into action. But it's been so many years of activism from Ben & Jerry's. I think it'll take some time for them to get any traction in terms of being recognized as a brand that just makes their core product and doesn't get involved in activism. But let me know in the comments, do you think this is the right business decision? Do you think overall they'll increase their sales with everyone? Let me know, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the Cultural Pod podcast, you have Jeremy Boring stepping down from CEO of the Daily Wire, and the rumors are flying as to why did this happen? Now, one of the most popular posts comes from Ian Carroll over on X, in which he said, quote, Daily Wire CEO Jeremy Boring stepping down. Oh no, there's much more to that. My sources have been telling me about this story for months. Here's the inside scoop. Again, this is credited to Ian Carroll's show. It's IANCARROLLSHOW. So that's I think I'm already following him. You subscribe to him. And this went pretty viral. Got, what was this, a couple million? 4.5 million views as well as 32,000 likes. And it's a little long, but again, it's a lot of good alleged insider information. I think it's worth entertaining, especially because, again, the Daily Wire is perhaps the most successful example of a media company in decades, starting with a small investment, well, relative from an investment perspective, of the Wilkes brothers putting a couple $1 million into the idea, and over a decade, getting to the valuation of near $1 billion with 250 plus employees. So again, media is mostly a crapshoot. Most of them go out of business. To have one that's moderately successful is pretty good. To have one reach $1 billion in valuation, that's, statistically nearly impossible. It's a huge accolade. That's like one of the reasons I think it's such a popular topic. And they also have many popular entertainers from Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro, to Michael Knowles. And without too much further ado,
the Daily Wire is going bankrupt, allegedly, and Jeremy Boring is officially out as CEO. That's right. The self-proclaimed God King of the Daily Wire is at the heart of so many scandals. And yes, he is self-described as the God King. And the email just went out today internally that he is stepping down. And
it was pretty funny when one of the commercials for Jeremy's Razors had Jeremy Boring where he drove up into his car, which is a pretty cool blue McLaren, but they actually had the parking placard. The reservation was for Jeremy Boring, God King.
Now Axios is covering the story. It has not yet broken, as far as I'm aware, that private equity is moving in and looking to buy up the Daily Wire. I heard, rumor mill, that Silver Lake Capital is looking to buy them up. And yo, Silver Lake, you guys might want to watch this.
Well, audio issues here. Sorry about that.
And now Axios is covering the story. It has not yet broken, as far as I'm aware, that private equity is moving in and looking to buy up the Daily Wire. I heard, rumor mill, that Silver Lake Capital is looking to buy them up. And yo, Silver Lake, you guys might want to watch this video before you think too hard about it, because there's a lot that is not in the public square right now. We're about to get into stuff like canceled credit cards, lying to the press, trying to trick Tim Pool. As far as I can tell from my sources, even people inside of the Daily Wire only know part of the story, and they're all kind of getting played against each other. It's a whole mess. And the people inside of the Daily Wire only know part of the story, and they're all kind of getting played against each other. It's a whole mess. And the most important part of this mess is that the Daily Wire has a long history of treating their employees like shit. And so I've had numerous sources inside the Daily Wire for quite some time because everyone hates them, even their own people. That's not to mention the numerous sources outside of the Daily Wire that did not take the NDA money on the way out.
Apologies.
Like, I had people literally in my comments on Instagram offering to give me dirt on the Daily Wire because they hated the Daily Wire so much. It's out of control. And it all centers around the God King and his fucking massive ego and his lifelong desire to be a famous actor and make it in Hollywood, which he failed at originally years and years and years ago. And so once the Daily Wire was off the ground, he just couldn't help but try to turn the Daily Wire into a Hollywood movie studio and produce the Pendragon series. Note that this article is from 2023, and he said that he had dreamt of bringing this book to the screen for 25 years. It was due to stream exclusively on Daily Wire Plus in 2024. Why didn't that happen? That's a good question. And that leads to us talking about all the Daily Wire's employees' credit cards getting frozen, allegedly. Just to first set the stage though, producing a Hollywood movie is like a huge multi-million dollar undertaking. It is not the same as filming Ben Shapiro talking really fast at liberals. So I've actually been collecting information on this story for quite some time here. And now that it has officially broken in the news, I think my sources are a little safer to talk about this. Because they're portraying it as though Jeremy Boring is willingly stepping back to work on creative projects like the Pendragon cycle, and that he'll remain with the company in an advisory role. My sources are telling me that the Pendragon cycle is being moved off-site and out of the Daily Wire's physical purview.
Yeah, that's no different than an S&P Fortune 500 company. It's just like them saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna put this person on they're gonna be able to spend more time with their family." No, absolutely not. They're being pushed out of the company. And the biggest red flag to me is when they say that statement, Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring himself said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to focus on more creative." He was already doing that as CEO. Famously, he was the face of Jeremy's Razors, Jeremy's Chocolate. He also was the face of one of the films, Lady Ballers. But again, it's a hilarious comedy. He was the main protagonist in the whole film. I mean, he's been at the center of a lot of the creative endeavors. So why couldn't he continue to be CEO? Because they didn't want him to.
Because they're not letting Jeremy Boring back in the building right now, apparently. Jeremy Boring was 100% allegedly forced out, not a willing leave. And that's because this financial problem has been going on for years. They had recently had to table all projects and do a hiring freeze because there was no money in the bank.
It would also explain why you don't see any advertising of the Daily Wire. Again, just with the magic or the creepy spyware of technology, I talk about the Daily Wire so much, I should see advertisements for that product everywhere I go on the internet. I mean, shoot, I covered the comments section decline for a couple of months now, which I guess is dark humor to see them fail in that regard. And they haven't seemed to put a single dollar of advertising behind Reagan, who took over for Brett Cooper, on the comments section. That channel has been losing subscribers left and right, averaging a loss of 1,200 subscribers per day, which isn't as bad as when they're losing 10,000 subscribers per day last month. But again, not a single advertisement for her, or Ben Shapiro, or Matt Walsh, and the major creators on the whole Daily Wire studio. I don't see ads for them on the YouTube or on the Rump, but nowhere. I don't know where the Daily Wire is spending their money, but I suspect they cut off their funding months ago or decreased their marketing spending to make it more attractive for VC to look at their balance sheet and say, "Oh yeah, they don't spend so much money. They're more profitable now." Again, you're just kind of pausing certain marketing initiatives. But again, it's been more than a fiscal quarter, and I haven't seen a single ad for Daily Wire. That's almost impossible unless you spend $0 on advertising. Which again, historically, Ben Shapiro on his channel alone on the YouTube, they spent $200,000 per month on his one channel or one page on the YouTube, on the Facebook to be the top conservative commenter, yada yada, on that platform. So that was just for Ben. They're spending so much money on all of them. Again, marketing is not cheap. And yet, all of a sudden, a couple fiscal quarters ago, it just didn't seem to spend any. Let me know, have you seen any Daily Wire ads for any of the major producers, or more accurately, any of the major podcasters on the show? Have you seen a single ad for Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles? Andrew Klavan still works here for reasons. Have you seen any ads? And then since Reagan took over for the comment section, have you seen a single advertisement telling you about that? I haven't seen a single one. Let me know if you have.
Allegedly. All the way back in 2023, Jeremy and Ben Shapiro apparently had to put money into the Daily Wire, their own personal money, to rescue it. That money has not been real.
That also could be because they don't want as many people investing in the company so that they don't lose any equity in the company. Again, the Wilkes brothers got a really great deal. More accurately, they took a huge momentous risk to put money into a media company that actually paid off, allegedly. But it's one of those instances where if they were to accept more money, they would decrease the amount of percentage that they own of the company because they're selling off equity. So that might be, and then Ben Shapiro has publicly said on many podcasts that he wished he never went to the Wilkes brothers. He wished that him and Jeremy just put up their houses as equity or got a loan against their houses to start the company because he valued the equity that much. So again, when it comes to them putting their own money in the company, I'm not too surprised. They're both very successful millionaires. I mean, most people do pull the trigger. They want to gamble. Well, actually, not most people start companies, but a lot of people do choose to invest in themselves and self-fund it. So that might be a contributing factor of why they don't want external funding, or more accurately, additional external funding to dilute the shares that they own, as well as the Wilkes brothers.
A burst and it is all gone. The Pendragon cycle is over budget by like $50 million or something, allegedly. And at the end of 2024, this problem got so bad that Jeremy Boring apparently started lying to the press to try to drum up interest for a sale. This is when conveniently it leaked that Fox News was considering buying the Daily Wire. That was
Jeremy said many times publicly when he was being interviewed about a year ago, he said, quote unquote, that he thinks the Daily Wire would be a good fit for Fox. Again, hinting a lot of people that he was open to having the company being sold. Again, the Wilkes brothers, they're making reoccurring revenue, with like a profit share model, I'm sure. But the real payday with venture capital is usually when you sell your stake in the company. Again, the Wilkes brothers maybe they're pressuring the Daily Wire, saying, hey, we've been investing with you for like a decade plus. We really want to get we want more of a, not upfront ROI, but immediate realization on our remaining equity. So maybe that's why Jeremy's kind of hinting like, hey, Fox, we'd be a good fit.
Was never in the works. That was just to try to drum up interest so that hopefully someone else would rescue their asses. Oh. I've heard that the Murdochs actually personally hate Jeremy Boring, allegedly, just like pretty much everyone else. Like even Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring, it sounds like there's a huge rift between them from what I'm hearing. There's even rumors that I can't confirm quite yet that Ben Shapiro hired his own PR person like months ago. Brett Cooper was basically like their election coverage during the 2024 election absolutely bombed.
Oh, it's trash. The #1 stream for the election night, bar none, was Louder with Crowder. I mean, I covered the election night, what was that? I did that for 10 hours and 45 minutes, and I would go back between the major streamers, kind of look at the statistics, and I was kind of curious who had the most live, viewers that, all at once. I mean, we're talking a multitude of 10x more people watch Louder with Crowder than the Daily Wire. It was a comical multiplier. It's such a big delta or difference. I mean, the Daily Wire, they had their top talent in the room covering it. I mean, I thought their coverage is pretty good from the commentary. That's pretty constructive. It's interesting. But yeah, in terms of how many people were actually watching it, I mean, Crowder killed it that day. Everyone else is basically a shadow in a shadow.
Sounds like just like most Daily Wire products, they dropped a shitload of money into production and did not nearly recoup the costs. So then you remember when Tim Pool was like kind of like rearranging his business and all sorts of weird stuff was happening there? I don't even know if Tim knows this yet directly, but it sounds like the Daily Wire was trying to manipulate him into buying the Daily Wire and trying to present it as super profitable. The rumors I'm hearing is that Jeremy Boring thought Tim Pool would be dumb enough to fall for it, and he was the exact kind of guy they could sell to. I heard that they allegedly offered him an all-stock deal, which would be worth fucking shit because their stock is fucking worthless because they're bankrupt, allegedly. So props Tim for not taking that deal. That would have been a huge mistake. Because now my sources told me like a month or two ago that the Daily Wire froze all the credit cards of all the Daily Wire producers. And they were like pretending it was a new accounting system trying to cover up what was going on, allegedly. But it sounds like apparently
that should put a warning in this video. Do not make this a drinking game in which you take a drink every time he says allegedly. You'll be quickly inebriated and most likely have to go to hospitalization. So again, disclaimer, don't do that. But yeah, he says it so often, I'm almost thinking, oh dear God, what if someone did? Nevertheless,
Jeremy Boring's entire net worth is a smoke screen, and that he's trying to renegotiate contracts with people like the Petersons to try to leech as much money out as he can to just keep the books looking balanced. It sounds like Jordan Peterson, Michaela Peterson, their whole team has been really weirded out by this and is not stoked. I haven't talked to them directly, but it doesn't sound like they like him at all. So anyways, rumor is that Silver Lake is one of the primary private equity firms coming in looking to buy them up. And Ken, Mike, Egon, Greg, Joe, you might want to do a little more due diligence about the books before you make that purchase. Looks like your last investment, according to Wikipedia, was in 2022. This would not be a good way to come back onto the scene. That is just my opinion based upon what I'm hearing from the inside. Based on the chatter on the, shall we?
It'll be interesting. That'd be a big stamp of approval if Silver Lake were to buy them. VC, in terms of venture capital, they're one of the most successful ones. And obviously, you're not going to get 100% success rate in venture capital. high risk, high reward. Most famously, they're best known as Texas Bay. Oh, they're best known in Texas for helping Michael Dell take his company from publicly traded to privately traded, which allowed them to make very strategic business moves like buy out EMC, which revolutionized their storage capabilities. So again, that venture capital has a long, successful track record of making companies go private and public, and back and forth. It would be interesting to see if they want to get into media. Again, media being one of the most difficult things to make an ROI out of. I mean, majority of YouTube channels don't even make a profit. I mean, mine doesn't. But we do have some handsome sponsors like Topping Technologies. If you need help with your IT services or your IT products, let us know. ToppingTechnologies.com. Free flamethrower with every IT purchase. But in all reality, the only reason I can afford any of the gear on the show is because the tech company sponsors it. My own company. But yes, it's one of those things where, I mean, it's such a risk. I'm not sure if Silver Lake would want to. I mean, the Daily Wire claims multiple times that they have $200 million in recurring revenue because of all the subscribers on Daily Wire Plus. Again, they make a lot of the profit from the YouTube ads, but also the reads. I mean, pretty sure they have more ad reads than anyone else. I guess you kind of have to for 250 plus employees. But yeah, I would love to see the fiscal viability of the company. It's privately held, so the only thing I have is the anecdotal data that they leak, or not even leak. Ben Shapiro and the co-founders will talk about when every once in a while they'll hint at how many active subscribers they have and some of the statistical breakdown of where the revenue comes from. But I partially digress.
We say Wire, it sounds like there's no money in the bank, so to speak, and they're not making profits. There's a difference between revenue and profits, and Jeremy has been doing a lot of finagling over the years to try to make it look really good. And realistically, do we even want the Daily Wire to be saved? Like opinion time? Don't we want to see Matt Walsh break out of the Daily Wire and do his own thing? And Matt, don't you think you'll do way better on your own than with the Daily Wire at this point? Like even Jordan Peterson, who a lot of people's perspectives have changed.
Yeah, Matt Walsh is probably the last remaining outlier at the Daily Wire in terms of the monolith of thought over there. He's kind of gets in politics and geopoliticals, but he's one of the few. Actually, no, he's the only one who's kind of that isolationist mentality. And a lot of people speculate he'll be kicked out of the company just for having that. Again, it's not a bad opinion. I would say it's a very moderate opinion. But yeah, of all the people that I think would be successful long-term on their own, Matt Walsh I think he would kill it. I mean, I'm a fan of dry humor myself. I think he would be really successful if he had his own standalone platform. And again, the Daily Wire, they've helped him a lot in terms of building his brand as an individual creator, especially with the best documentary of the past 10 years, statistically speaking, in terms of revenue and, adoption rate and views, would be What is a Woman by Matt Walsh. Now, the upside of having a company like the Daily Wire behind you is they'll actually fuel your idea. Because again, that movie or documentary, whatever I call it, cost we're talking millions of dollars, not just physically moving people around the world for all the footage you had to get, but also for all the preparation, the writing, the editing. It's no easy feat putting a film together to that scale. So that's really where the big benefit is where they will support Matt and those initiatives. Again, when we look at how many people bought Daily Wire Plus, the biggest reason is because of Matt Walsh, because of his production and his ideas. Now, the issue is, again, if he goes out on his own, how many people actually pay to subscribe to him? He's been demonetized multiple times on the YouTube platform. Again, I think someone of his scale can make a living on Rumble, or one of the competitors. But yeah, interesting enough, they're one of the most popular, I would say, podcasters, but yet I don't see a lot of ads of Matt Walsh. Years ago, I did see it for the documentary What is a Woman. I saw those ads on the YouTube and other areas. But if you just see like a standalone ad for a creator of the Daily Wire, I don't think I've ever seen one for Matt Walsh, which I think they should, because statistically speaking, he's one of the top contributors. And yet, they don't seem to be giving him that type of marketing allocation.
Changed on over time lately. Like, even he would get a fresh start if he just got away from this shit mess. This is enigmatic of the times we're in, where even the alternative media has been bought out by big money and played in the same big studio mindset that is just completely contrary to what the new media revolution is all about. True. The way Jeremy Boring thought he could just replace Brett Cooper with her producer and act like nothing had ever changed and the same audience would stay there, that is enigmatic of this old way of thinking. That the peasants just want to be entertained and you just put programming on their TV and they're guaranteed to watch it. That is.
Well, it's also kind of the theater mindset, and I'm not original in this analysis, but a lot of people did bring up the fact that you look at Jeremy Boring's background and where they come from is mostly theater. And the age old saying is the show must go on, and that, that metric, or rather that scenario, is pretty common to have actors and actresses replaced and have someone fill their shoes, and the show still goes on successfully. They definitely shot themselves in the foot, the whole Brett Cooper instance, where, again, Brett Cooper is getting, what was it, 400, 500,000 views per video on average? Ridiculously successful. And now Brett Cooper's replacement, Reagan, or some people call her Timu Brett Cooper, she's getting about 13,000 to 20,000 views per video, which as an individual, that is awesome. For me, that would be life-changing. That would be a personal record. However, again, as one of the few contributors they have at the Daily Wire, that's not viable as a business model. They're losing money on that channel. I don't know how much longer they'll actually entertain keeping that channel alive. But yeah, if you're getting 10,000 views per video on the YouTube, that won't even support the salary of the host of the show. But I, again, partially digress.
It's not how it works. People subscribe to stories, they subscribe to people, they subscribe to authenticity, and the Daily Wire is the embodiment of an inauthentic, bad storyline that treats all of its people horribly. And I normally try to avoid breaking stories, but it is literally a colander over there. And there are so many leaks pouring information out of the Daily Wire that I cannot keep this shit out of my inbox if I try. And speaking of inboxes, rumor has it that when the Daily Wire took Brett Cooper's TikTok account, a month or so ago, the rumor is that they were trying to read her DMs because they thought that she had leaked the Brett Cooper story to me directly, despite I had never talked to Brett Cooper at all in my life at that point. That shit made me giggle because that shows just how disconnected Jeremy and his people are from reality. Like, bro, if you treat everyone in your company like absolute trash, they're not going to respect you and they're not going to protect you. And when you wrong them over and over, they're not going to respect you and they're not going to protect you. And when you wrong them over and over and over again, it's inevitably going to wind up on the internet. So let this be a lesson to all of us. The internet is a force that ultimately skews towards authenticity, towards honesty, and towards open discussion. And if your business is modeled on this old way of controlling information, of big money payments, of treating people like property, and of just shitting all over your audience, allegedly, you're not going to last. So anyways, tell me in the comments who you're most excited about seeing no longer at the Daily Wire, going off on their own. For me, it's Matt Walsh, obviously. I dig Matt a lot, and I can't wait to see him break free of this. Let me know in the comments if you think the Daily Wire should get rescued and revamped, or if you think it's time for them to just be done. And Jeremy, I just want to remind us all, yourself included, pride goes before the fall.
As they say, hashtag sweet baby gang for life. If you don't get that reference, I'm sorry. I cannot elaborate any more than that. I've already said too much. Again, this went pre-val. I got 4.5 million views and 32,000 likes, which, yeah, in terms of, let me know in the comments, who do you think would be the most successful person to leave the Daily Wire? You got Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, Andrew Clavin. Oh yeah, Reagan or Timu Brett Cooper. Of the core 5 remaining personalities, I think Matt Walsh would be the most successful one, personally. But let me know which one you think. Now, go to the top comments. You have Knight saying, quote, Candace Owens is laughing so hard right now, getting 3.2 thousand likes. Ian responded saying, can't wait to hear her take, getting 2,000 likes. Ryan says, if you have to say allegedly like 18 times in a 9-minute video, maybe you can pump the brakes before posting a video. That's pure speculation. Getting 843 likes, a contrarian statement nearly right off the bat. Ian Carroll says, quote, I very much trust my sources. Also not interested in litigation, as there's more stories about DW litigation going through and not broken to the public square yet. Getting 1.6 thousand likes. Ragnock says, Mother effing Walsh, getting 470 likes. Sabo says, ooh, I can see Lil Ben throwing a tantrum listening to this, getting 424 likes. Ian Carroll says, if they sold tickets to watch Ben live react, they might finally turn a profit. Getting 1.1 thousand likes. You also have Swampy Uniparty saying, quote, does this mean Ben Shapiro will be the CEO? Ian Carroll says, I have not heard any reports that to that effect at this time, getting 137 likes, which I really don't think he wants that. Again, he was one of the original founders. I think Ben, in terms of his time, resource allocation, what makes him happy, I would speculate he most appreciates being able to have his daily show and kind of turn off the company phone at 5 p.m., so to say, and not worry about the operation, logistics, or running the company. I would venture to guess, and he has a family and kids. I would guess with Ben's time resource allocation, he's most happy doing what he's doing now. But who knows? Maybe he does become CEO. Again, the Daily Wire publicly says, one of the former founders, Caleb, will be the CEO. But we'll see long term. I also have James Lee saying allegedly, and Ian Carroll says, "Trust me, bro, none of this is admissible in the court of law." Getting 580 likes. You have the Captain Planet meme of all the original folks, Captain Planet, and this is from Namrock, and he has the 5 kids being labeled grifters, neocons, calls it homos, failed actors, Mossad, and then they formed to become the Daily Wire, getting 279 likes. Scrolling down more and more, you have Kenneth Litton saying, quote, "Them telling their Christian dominant audience that saying Christ is king is racist surely didn't help. I quit watching Ben about a year ago over that." Getting 139 likes, which, that was, probably one of the top 10 controversial things at the Daily Wire that really had everyone in an uproar. The Daily Wire, a lot of them were starting to say, including the co-founder, Jeremy Boring, that is anti-Semitic to claim that Christ is king. When in reality, that's just, as youth might say, based. I also have Dave saying, quote, "The free speech hypocrisy from Ben Shapiro was too much for me, man. Couldn't even listen to the non-paywalled stuff after that. What Is Woman, though, was a gem. I imagine Matt Walsh would be fine getting 102 likes. I agree with that sentiment." Let's see, scrolling down more and more. Not too many other contrarian statements. And again, it'd be so fascinating to look at the statistics of the company and really get into their finances. I wish they were publicly traded for that reason alone. So you just look at their 10K statement. But again, they're still privately traded, it's still privately held. So we really don't have too much direct access to their data in terms of looking at that. But I mean, let me know, what do you think the future will be for the Daily Wire? Why do you think Jeremy Boring was really pushed out of being the CEO? And I mean, of the 5 core, talent on the show, who would you most likely to tune in if they were to leave the Daily Wire? Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have Donald Trump with pretty good approval ratings with everyone except the white college gals, which, I would argue that's basically what a leftist is, which, very important for society. They contribute to 95% of all the profits of blue and pink dye hair manufacturer companies. I mean, and flag companies for that matter. Now, this comes with us thanks to Geiger Capital, which he says this is crazy. And you have a reporter at NBC News and looking at a recent poll and trying to see if they could actually zoom in on the statistical analysis in terms of how many people this was and the sample size. Let's see here. Unfortunately, so they say this is from an NBC News poll that took place from March 7th to March 10th. Gosh dang it. Unfortunately, it didn't give us actual breakdown in terms of, where were these people polled or, what was the sample size. However, they say this is a NBC opinion of Donald Trump poll. With white men with no degree, it's plus 41. With white men with a college degree, it's plus 1. With white women with no degree, it's plus 14. And white women with a college degree, down negative 38%. So, pretty much everyone but radical leftists has a positive opinion of Donald Trump at this time. And this is really darn viral. Got 2.9 million views. Actually, to go right, let me reload the page. It was 2.9. What is it now? 3.3 million views, as well as 54,000 likes. Just getting quite a few to say the least. One of the first comments comes from Calibrio saying, quote, "A degree is not prerequisite of intelligence." Getting 6.7 thousand likes. And that is true. One of the most useless things I ever got in my life was a college degree. Hopefully, if I'm on the right trajectory, I will pay it off early this year. But let's just say I got a business degree. I learned more in the first year of running a business than all 4 years of college getting a business degree. So let's just say I'm extremely skeptical. I'm skeptical that everyone really needs a college degree except maybe a doctor. Now, you also have the publicist saying, quote, "It's unindoctrinated. Women lack the stronger logic filter and are more easily programmed compared to men," allegedly, getting 2.8 thousand likes. Professor Duke says, quote, "It's a tactic admission in which the real existential threat and mental illness in America, white college-educated liberal women," getting 4.6 thousand likes. Benjamin Wonder, he's collecting all the flags. He has the United States flag, America, Israeli flag, Ukrainian flag, and blue square. I don't know what the blue square is, but that's down there too. He says, quote, "Women hating a man who literally who literally was charged as trying to keep this matter really fan friendly as abusing women is a mystery, which I did get 1.1 thousand likes despite being mentally vacuous, where again, there's no evidence of that. And they changed the law in New York to go after him. I would argue maliciously and with lawfare. Again, no evidence, but yeah, they said he's guilty. Right. Juju says, I take offense. I'm a white woman with 2 degrees, 1 master's, and I'm all the way for Trump. They are lying. Ooh, 47 likes. Dave Cringe has a picture of 4 people. One's a drunk-looking man. This is alcoholism. One's a disfigured woman. This is heroin. One's a disfigured man. This is meth. And one's AOC. It says liberalism. Getting 1.1 thousand likes. I also have Michael, one of the most popular comments, saying, quote, I'd like to see the breakdown of white women with college between married and unmarried. Oh, yeah. I bet there's a huge split there. Yep, getting 7.8 thousand likes. It would be fascinating to see if there's any statistical correlation if they do or do not own cats. And how many cats? That might be a thing. The Russian apologist says, quote, no, don't date liberal women. She's 60% chance of mental illness, which I got 311 likes. And yeah, that was interesting to see all the graphs. They went viral Q4 last year. We look at, which demographics and which folks have the highest likelihood of being mentally ill. Yeah, spoiler alert is liberal white women, young, statistically, I believe 18 to 30 had the highest rates, which, yeah. Let's just say dating ain't easy these days. I'm sure I'll find someone eventually. Though statistically improbable, it might happen. You also have Ultimate Patriot saying, quote, is not if you know the college are indoctrination camps. They've been brainwashing our kids in college, getting 75 likes, which, yeah, I tend to agree. One of the most, I'd say a pretty good book by Ben Shapiro is Brainwashed, which, A+, you know what it's all about. But he breaks down the statistics on college campuses in terms of a lack of diversity of the professors based on political affiliations. Spoiler alert, there's no diversity. Ironically, they claim they love diversity on college campuses. There's not ideological diversity. Saxton Mom says, I guess I'm anomaly. I'm a white college girl educated, and I love Trump, getting 953 likes, going up like a stock ticker. Errol Weber also says, we need to do a better job reaching college students. Left unchecked, they will be indoctrinated and become the downfall of America, getting 57 likes. Which, yeah, that's probably one of the best things that Charlie Kirk has ever done. Oh, I would say socially and culturally. Charlie Kirk has really contributed to that with Turning Point USA. Also, Dennis Prager's done a lot of good job. But yeah, I do agree. Colleges need political and as well as ideological diversity. They're really bad at having, even in my area, I went to the University of Iowa, and even there was mostly radical leftists. I had maybe 1 or 2 more conservative or libertarian professors. But yeah, like even there, like there wasn't a lot of diversity of opinion, which is quite sad. So again, I don't think too many people are surprised by this poll, but I don't know. Maybe you are. Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, the Department of Justice will charge the Tesla attackers as domestic terrorists, and then they just all happen to be leftist. Sure, that's a coincidence. Of course, it's not. Now, this is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness on X, in which he says, quote, breaking, the Department of Justice charges 3 suspects for 3 separate Tesla attacks, with each facing 20 years in prison, which quite a few to say the least. And spoiler alert, they are also big supporters of the blue hair dye community, which, again, talk about a lost business opportunity. The past 10 years, when I think of what businesses have grown the most, people who make purple, blue, and pink hair dye and flags, they're doing great. I mean, you can't go on a college campus without seeing a couple different, dozens and hundreds of folks like that. Now, bring up the actual document. They say, quote, the days of committing crimes without consequence have ended, said Attorney General Pamela Bondi. She says, let this be a warning. If you join the wave of domestic terrorism against Tesla properties, the Department of Justice will put you behind bars. One defendant, also armed with a suppressed AR-15, which that's pretty rare. In the United States, it's very much a controlled, I was about to say substance, a controlled material or a controlled object. In the United States, thanks to the dictatorial laws or tyrannical laws of the NFA Act or the National Firearm Act of 1934, in order to buy a suppressor, you have much more paperwork. Not only do you have to have photos taken like you're a prisoner, you also have your fingerprints taken, and you also have to buy it, which with the U.S. Treasury $200 fee, that process as an individual usually takes a couple months. If you do it through a trust, as an individual, it could take a couple weeks. So I suspect this would be most likely homemade, since they're pretty darn easy to make at home. I won't say how, but yeah, you could pretty easily make it at home. So I would suspect this person manufactured their own, but that's beside the point. They also they're also arrested after throwing approximately 8 Molotov cocktails at a Tesla dealership located in Oregon. Another was, let me pull up these deranged psychopaths on the screen for you see it, so you can see them, which I guess in contrast, I actually look pretty handsome compared to them. There we go. And they say another was arrested in Loveland, Colorado after attempting to light Teslas on fire with Molotov cocktails. The defendant was later found in possession of materials used to produce additional incendiary weapons. In Charleston, South Carolina, a third defendant wrote profane messages against President Trump around Tesla charging stations before lighting the charging stations on fire with Molotov cocktails. Each defendant faces serious charges carrying a minimum penalty of 5 years and up to 20 years in prison. Now, I'm sure these pieces of crap are actually surprised at being charged because, again, all this stuff also happened under the George Floyd Summer of Love riots, though instead of attacking Tesla dealerships, they were attacking businesses and causing $2 billion in property damage. And yet Democrats basically let them all off the hook. Now, this went pretty viral, got 1 million views as well as 30,000 likes. And one of the top comments comes from Democrat Media TM saying, quote, notice how they all fall of a certain mindset and type, i.e. trans and Democrats. Lock up these terrorists, they're a cancer of society. He 405 likes. Arthur Eagleman says, quote, making a loud statement and give them all 20 years, getting 774 likes. Paul Zazupa says, prison won't be fun, getting 76 likes. American Wiseman says, quote, keep going, round up these ringleaders. That's gotta be Photoshop. It's George Soros's son, as well as Jasmine Crockett, and he has a comically large bow tie. They got 163 likes. Let's see here. Ben River Forever says, quote, I like this idea a lot. Send them to Venezuela. And Trump floats, this is an article that says Trump floats for an imprisonment of American criminals who are repeat offenders, which, not a terrible idea. Or get some, where's somewhere worse than Venezuela? Perhaps you could send them to Mexico or Canada. Gotta live under that tyrannical government. Got 137 likes. Though, again, there is a rule in the United States against cruel and unusual punishment. Forcing someone to go to Mexico may very well fall into that category. Perhaps. Scrolling down more and more, you have a couple folks pointing out all the recent shooters were trans. Jerry Memes, or Memes, says, quote, before they were shut down, asylums housed the woke. There's a picture of an insane asylum. It got 117 likes. Sean Farish says, quote, more of this, the harsher the consequences, the less likely it is to continue. Make examples of these people, getting 682 likes, which, yes, is true. These people have been incentivized with lawlessness and basically no consequences for years. If they actually face consequences for once in their life, it's going to decrease the action. And it's also hilarious how stupid these people are. You're damaging a Tesla, which they have more cameras on them than sometimes a small business has. The evidence is there. Mika says, quote, I just opened my Merriam-Webster and looked up mental illness, and this photo came up, and it's the gentleman who has a picture of, this is one of the gentlemen who's arrested, well, not gentleman, the scum that's arrested, who has long blue hair, looks like to be a collar choker, and necklace, and lots of makeup, like 18 pounds of makeup, getting 123 likes. Yeah, Chicago Ray saying, quote, keep them in jail, no bond and life in prison, getting 108 likes. Which, yeah, life in prison, they're not going to get charged with that. Mad Bull American says, quote, remember when we were vandalizing Bud Light distributors during the Dylan Mulvaney debacle? Oh, wait, we didn't. Getting 281 likes, which, yeah, the tolerant left, which ironically, I call them that ironically, they say they're tolerant, and yet they're the ones burning down, Tesla dealerships and graffitiing them and causing all the chaos. Which again, when there's a Bud Light, whole fiasco, guess what conservatives just did? They just didn't buy it. They bought the competition. Yangling grew like a weed. I wish I could invest in that, but they're privately held. Yeah, they just bought the competition. You had Kid Rock destroy Bud Lights by shooting his own personal property, where he shot Bud Light cans. But did you see any violence? Yeah, no. Madam B says, quote, imagine spending 20 years in prison just because you don't like someone, getting 202 likes. Yep. The best meme of all. Brian Bliss has a picture of a person with a rainbow t-shirt and says, I love my Tesla. Then they watch CNN and CNN says, Elon is Hitler. And then the person, and of course, I forgot to mention, this caricature of a person has short blue hair, of course. And then they light the Tesla on fire. Which, yeah, that meme is going pretty viral and pretty enigmatic of the situation. And yeah, we'll see. Again, rough times for Tesla. For once, I'm glad I'm not a shareholder. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how many of these charges actually stick. And will we have a ripple effect where people start to see, oh, wait, there's real consequences for my actions? Maybe they'll stop. Hopefully they do. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Ford having a recall for a recall, which now means they've had, 24 recalls in the first 12 weeks of 2025, which allegedly they do have some employees at the company who are in the quality assurance department. I say allegedly because I can't but think they're inebriated or just don't exist. Now, this comes to us thanks to Road and Track, specifically Lucas Bell, who's a writer over there. He says, quote, Ford issues recall for 64,000 previous recalled and repaired vehicles. Yes, again. The latest slate of recall impacts Ford F-250, 350. Ford F-250, 350, Explorer, Edge, Bronco, Sport, and Maverick, as well as the Lincoln Aviator and Corsair. Not the computer company, though that would be kind of cool if they had a collab. And here you can see, at least the Ford logo still is intact on that car. Usually they fall off. Now, they say, quote, the new year struggles have yet to abate from the Ford Motor Company. Once again, the automaker is being forced to issue a set of recall notices for a number of its popular models in order to address previously incorrected repairs for recalls. This includes, again, those previously mentioned vehicles. They note that the largest of the new recall impacts model year 2020 to 2023 Lincoln Aviator, 2020 to 2022 Lincoln Corsair, and 2020 to 2023 Ford Explorer models. The NHTSA states that impacted vehicles may feature a rear view camera that fails to display properly, which was previously incorrectly addressed via recall number 23V/342. Some 49,399 units will need to come back to the Ford dealer network for yet another software update. And they want to be an EV tech company. Yeah, I don't know about that. Can't even get a rear view camera right, which the automaker is confident will remedy the situation. Are you? You're confident that you'll be able to fix it the third time? I don't know about that. They say there'll be no charge for these repairs as required by law, because, again, it's a recall. Again, everyone hates them. The consumers hate them. The dealerships hate them too, because, again, they do pay their mechanics because Ford cuts a paycheck directly to the dealerships. So you're still paid for your work, but it's a heavily discounted rate compared to what you could be making on other upselling of things to customers or just standard maintenance. And, yeah, they make a fraction. No one's happy about this. They say Ford Edge owners with vehicles years 2021 to 2022 in turn may notice a similar fault on their rear view cameras, which were previously repaired, or not, under recall number 22V-151. A total of 2,290 units were impacted. Now here you can see, I was going to say, do they have a picture of a Mustang even though that wasn't recalled? Well, I should specify not recalled in this instance. They've been recalled several times before. It's kind of funny they use that picture. Now they say, the NHTSA also highlights ongoing issues with the body and powertrain control modules in the specific 2021 to 2024 Bronco Sport, which I think has like 12 recalls alone now, and the Maverick. A lack of communication between the modules and the truck's 12-volt battery system can cause a loss of power to the drive, increasing the again in cliche government speak, which does increase the risk of a crash. Thank you for clarifying that. Ford says the impacted models were previously repaired. Not really. Under recall number 24V-267, a total of 12,833 units were included in the filed recall. The Super Duty recall, which, again, Ford, if you had anyone in your quality assurance department, you'd focus on the trucks. You put every effort into that because that's where you make a majority of your profits. The number one truck maker on the planet. Yet even that is not reliable. Now, they say that, quote, the Super Duty, which is much smaller in comparison, with just 9 units potentially being impacted, but the Super Duty front passenger seat window can fail to detect obstacles when closing, preventing the system from reversing as intended. Setup was repaired incorrectly under the recall 24V-507. Easily. So there's also, yeah. Will there ever be like a week or a month in which Ford has 0 recalls? I should specify, in which they're also still in business. Jeez Louise, they already are the butt of so many jokes for unreliable cars throughout the years. And to have a recall for a recall again. They had this issue, previously a couple months ago. Gotta say, Ford, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.